are tuned to the Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio, broadcasting live from southern Kern County in California. I thought we were going to do a Halloween spookathon today, where we talked about scary things like Agenda 21 and the presidential election, but it's really not our style. So instead, we watched It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Garfield Halloween special, and ate some organic chocolate, and now all the Halloween is out of my system, and I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Unfortunately, my Hammond organ is at a friend's house. Otherwise, I'd play some minor key, thunderous church organ fugue or something.
That's scary. Scary enough, anyway.
Yep. Very scary. I can't think of anything scarier, actually.
Well, the presidential election's pretty scary.
Oh, God.
But, you know, we really don't need to talk about it because everyone else is talking about it.
That's not just scary. It's also a waste of time.
Yeah, it's just theater. It's all just theater. It has nothing to do with reality. They're actors, guys. Actors. Hillary's going to get selected, then she's going to die in office, and then they're going to put someone else there. It's all just planned out.
Die being in quotation marks.
Yeah, she's going to get sent to a tropical island somewhere, given lots of drugs like the island on The Simpsons, where they send people who know too much, and then they drug them. So we've just been enjoying our Halloween week with some very light Halloween shows, and I think we're about done, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's going to be Christmas time soon, so we'll have plenty of chances to watch the Christmas specials of whatever we just watched the Halloween specials of.
Garfield and Peanuts.
And the Grinch.
Yeah, that's an important one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are getting ready for a trip to Big Bear, California. I've got a talk there this weekend. We're going to go hang out with good friends, and it's really beautiful up there. So if you're living in Southern California, anywhere in the vicinity, please come join us. It's free. There's the info on my site, thekembo.com. Everyone's welcome. So please come and spend the day in the mountains with us on Saturday, the 29th. I will be talking all about the stuff I always talk about, orgone energy, but with a slideshow. So I'll make it very, very easy to understand chemtrails, EMF, and our free energy solution. And there are going to be really, really nice people up there.
And not one word about the presidential election. So rest assured, that will not creep in there somehow.
I'm pretty sure that other people will be talking about that. There are a lot of people who still think it matters. I mean, I don't think it matters, but whatever. Trump, Hillary, what's the difference? They're good friends. You know they're good friends, right?
Very close friends. They have that secret handshake thing going on, I'm sure. So,
well, we will be going up to Big Bear and continuing the work that was started by Rainbow Thunderheart back in around 2004. And in hour 2, we're going to have a special guest on that will tell us all about those beautiful medicine wheel ceremonies that ended drought in Big Bear back then. Amazing work. And I actually had the honor of speaking with Rainbow Thunderheart, doing an interview with him on my last radio show. And Gabriel and I met him at an event in Los Angeles, the 5D event. He came up to us, so I was quite honored that he came to speak to us after listening to me on a panel. And I was talking about Agenda 21, yet I managed to still talk about orgone energy. And he said that our work was like his work, and we're going to be going up there and helping the community to continue the work he started in cleaning the atmosphere of chemtrails and ending drought and bringing the water levels back up in beautiful Big Bear Lake.
And beyond. He did a lot of work all over the place. And he came up right up to me at that event, and he made the connection right away between the work with orgone energy devices and the work that he did with the medicine wheels circa 2004, 2005. Unfortunately, he passed back in June, so now it is up to the people to continue the work that he did and spread it out into other areas to end drought and other bad things that are happening.
So we're going to learn all about that in hour 2. And for now, well, I have some news. My coffee man is opening a coffee shop. Big news for me. It's big news for Los Angeles that Alana's Coffee is finally opening a location in Venice. So if you live in LA, you can have the best coffee on earth, which it is. And coffee has been kind of an issue for me for a long time. And I know it sounds funny to talk about coffee on the show, but I love coffee, and I feel saddened that most people do not know what good coffee is. They think they know. They think that when they're buying their French roast coffee, they're drinking good coffee because they buy whole beans and grind it. French roast is an abomination. It is dark roasted to the point of being completely burnt oily beans. All of those oils that should be inside the bean come out, and the taste is burnt. It's acidic. I am absolutely against dark roast coffees. And many years ago when I lived in Portland, Oregon, I learned what good coffee was. I didn't know. Okay, I was drinking Peet's coffee, I was drinking Starbucks. I was wondering why I always got a stomach ache. It turns out that dark roasted coffees are extremely acidic and hurt your stomach lining. And I didn't understand this back then. I thought all coffee was acidic. It's not by nature. Dark roasted coffee is acidic because all those oils from inside the bean that should be locked in there, they're coming out because it's over roasted. Then they go rancid while they're sitting on the bean in the outside, and it sits on the shelf in the supermarket for months. These commercial coffees like Starbucks and Peet's. And then when you brew it, you are brewing rancid oils, and that's why you're getting a stomach ache. So if coffee has been upsetting your stomach, try switching to light roast, and that does not mean Starbucks blonde roast, which is truly horrific. I had to get a cup of that on our last road trip because I was desperate for coffee and I was starting to make Gabriel's life miserable.
Not that miserable, but you're making miserable the lives of the French roast fans and the Starbucks fans who are listening.
Well, I'm hoping that I'm helping those Starbucks fans today to not have stomach aches. If you're wondering why your coffee is hurting your stomach, it's because it's dark roasted.
But not because of coffee as a whole.
Exactly. Coffee is so mistreated and so misunderstood. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about coffee because I love it. It's a delicious beverage and it's not meant to be the way we think it is. So my coffee man in LA, Eric, I've been going to him since 2009, since I moved back to LA. I discovered him at the farmer's market. He was literally roasting the coffee at the market in a small roaster, and you were getting the beans straight out of the roaster. It was
Doesn't
amazing.
get any fresher than that.
And then he got bigger because he's so popular. So then he had to start using a bigger roaster, and he was roasting from home. And now he's no longer there. He's opening a store. So it's going to be harder for me to visit him. But now this is great for him, and it's great for LA because there's very little decent coffee in Los Angeles. It's very hard. There's the Venice Grind, and then you can go to Intelligentsia if you want to pay $4 and hang out with a bunch of pretentious hipsters. But the coffee at least is palatable. There's a few places like that. Venice Grind is really nice. I recommend them. But yeah, Alana's Coffee is opening in Venice, so definitely check it out. But light roasted coffee is properly done, and you want your coffee, you want to know where it comes from, you want it to be organically grown, you want it to be directly sourced from the farmers. Fair trade is not good enough. If you really care about the farmers, you're going to get direct trade, where the roaster gets it directly from the grower, no middleman. So
that's nice.
That's my little coffee spiel for the day.
And I can say that I am a convert because I had that issue for several years, not that long, I guess, but for a couple years with the dark roasted coffee that just sat there. It sat there, and I would think about that later, like, yeah, that stuff is just, it's not moving. It's just the oils and the acids are just, it's just swimming in that stuff.
It's horrible.
And then when they brew it, you're drinking all that, and yeah, I definitely have the stomach problems. And since switching to the true light roasted coffee, I can actually have a cup in the morning and have it not be a complete disaster that ruins my entire day.
Yeah, so you want your coffee to be brown, the beans to be light brown to medium brown in color. They should not look oily. If they are dark black or really dark brown and oily looking, stay away. That is murder on your stomach. Most people just don't know. And I'm hoping that now, with a little bit of advice, you can enjoy a fine cup of coffee. You're going to have to get used to that taste. Real coffee is more like tea. It's much more delicate in flavor. It's a totally different beverage. And for all those people who say coffee is disgusting and I don't like it, you probably have had horrible coffee. I think most coffee is disgusting. But honestly, you cannot get a decent cup of coffee between Los Angeles and San Luis Obispo, as far as I know. So now when we live between LA and San Luis Obispo, we've got to go back to LA for coffee.
Yeah, we're going to get an email from some angry guy in Santa Barbara saying, we have great coffee here. So.
Maybe they do. I got to discover it. But anyway, so what's new in sports, Gabe?
Not much.
You've been glued to ESPN. Come on.
I wouldn't say I've been glued to it, but I've been casually paying attention. I was watching the Dodgers kind of claw their way back into the middle of the postseason before they were swept away back into the dustbin of teams that are not contending for the playoffs anymore. So it's been 28 years since they won. So I was technically alive the last time they did, but I wasn't old enough to remember it. No. The thing is, when I was growing up, the Lakers and the Dodgers both stunk. This is the early 90s, mind you. But the Kings, they had Wayne Gretzky, and they were, they were doing well, but they never seemed to really win anything until I was celebrating my 8th birthday, which was the spring of 1993. That was a very significant year for Kings fans because that's the first time they ever made it past the second round of the playoffs. And they'd been a team for, 25 years or so at that point. And they had really cool uniforms. They had a great team. They had Gretzky, Luc Robitaille, Dave Taylor was in one of his last years, Thomas Sandstrom, Tony Granato. I'll never forget that team because that was my routine when I was a kid. I'd come home from school. My parents would force me to do my homework early, which I guess was a good thing because, we'd have a nice dinner around 6. I'd take my shower and come out all warm and toasty in my peach-colored terry cloth robe, which no,
That's too cute.
True story.
Colored.
True story. I don't know if I was involved in the decision making of pertaining to the color of the robe.
Well, it was the early 90s.
That's true. But no, I'd come out of the shower just in time, 7:30 for the start of the Kings game. Get Bob Miller, who's still doing the telecasts, and sidekick Jim Fox on Prime Ticket back in the day, playing at the Great Western Forum, and that was so much fun watching those games. And then they made it. They played all Canadian teams in the playoffs that year. They beat the Flames and the Canucks. Then they had their series with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is funny because they were in the West, because there were so few teams in those days that Toronto was in the West, which is I always find amusing. But they grinded out that series. They won, and then they played Montreal in the finals, a team that won like 25 Stanley Cups already. So it's a sad story what happened. The Kings just pummeled them in game 1, destroyed them. In game 2, they got out-hit, outskated, outshot by a mile. They'd still managed to build a 1-goal lead. With a minute 45 remaining, almost there. They're going to take a 2-0 lead, come back to LA for 2 more games. They probably would have won the series right then. Even the Montreal announcer said, if the Kings win tonight, they'll sweep the series. Well, you can see, if you watch game 2 of the 93 finals, you can see with 2 minutes left, the Montreal Canadiens bench, they're all hanging their heads. They look like a defeated team. And then they made a call that changed the momentum of the series. They said that one of the Kings was playing with a stick that had too much curve on it, which is a very obscure rule. But they made the call, measured the stick. It was illegal, and that's a penalty. So then, of course, they tie the game up on the power play and score to win the game in overtime. And the Kings never had a single lead for the rest of the series. They lost game 3 and 4 in overtime back at home and then got crushed in game 5. So,
is this why LA is such a demoralized city?
I don't know about that because
they came back
soon after that the Lakers became prominent in the early 2000s and they won several championships.
That's true.
And then the Kings 20 years later finally came back, and I think with your help.
I know, and it sounds really far-fetched, but this is before I was doing energy work to heal the planet, before I even knew I could do that. And I was watching the games with Gabe. We didn't have TV. We still don't have a TV set. We'd go to bars and watch the Kings games. And
listen on the radio.
I listen on the radio, and you were always freaking out about how badly they would do. And I said, don't worry, it'll be fine. And I said, they're going to win. They're going to win. And I just put all my energy for the entire season into them winning.
And I put all my energy in not believing you.
I know. And you never believed me because you said, no, I've seen this all before. And I just kept saying, don't worry. Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I saw it many times before. I saw it in '98 when they collapsed against St. Louis. Saw it in '01 against the Avs. It was a never-ending.
All right. No one's ever going to believe me. And I've never brought it up really publicly until recently. I kind of alluded to it. But I had something to do with them winning the Stanley Cup in 2012. I had something to do with it. I don't know on what level, but on some psychic level, I put all my energy into that.
I'd have to agree because they not only did they win, they set all kinds of records doing it.
I was just putting my all into that team for you. I was doing it for you because I love you.
Well, that's so nice.
And I was doing it for Los Angeles because LA needs something, for goodness sake. I mean, come on. Los Angeles it's a city with low self-esteem, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but they deserve it.
Well, I know. LA's a mess. Okay, we have a lot of work to do there to fix that place up. But LA is a really kind of demoralized, low self-esteem city, always second to New York. Not anymore.
Not in hockey championships, anyway.
Not in anything. New York is a hellhole. Sorry, New Yorkers. I could never live in such a big city. It's too crazy and way too much EMF.
Oh, yeah.
I can't live in the stack and pack housing. And that's actually what they want to do with us with Agenda 21. So speaking of Halloween scary stuff, Agenda 21 was one of the things I wanted to talk about for Halloween. But I don't even want to get into scary stuff because I'm not scared of Agenda 21. I know how to get around this.
And you shouldn't be scared either.
There's nothing to be scared of. Just don't comply. Don't comply with it. And no, they want you in stack and pack housing. Move to the country. The city's a scam. I think the city is a huge scam. We live out in the middle of nowhere now, and we have a nice, comfortable house.
Yep.
For
we lowered our rent and increased our square footage at the same time.
In Los Angeles right now, for what we're paying on a house out in the middle of nowhere, you get a studio apartment. It's ridiculous.
And what's the only drawback? You're not near a Quiznos or a Jamba Juice.
Hey,
is that really a drawback?
We're not too far from a Subway, though. There is one out there.
That's true.
But I don't need it. There's a McDonald's, too, but I don't need that either. I don't need any of that. All I need is the peace and quiet of living in the woods and being able to do my work in seclusion and go into the city when I need it. And with Agenda 21, actually, they don't want you doing that. They don't want you driving a car. They don't want you causing all that global warming. We were realizing, actually, that a lot of the scarcity is a total hoax. And the other thing is the humans use too much of our resources. It's so not true. When we were out chopping wood the other day, we brought our wheelbarrow and our axe, and there were some sections of dead tree that had been cut up by Kern County. And we literally took 2 sections of that tree, just 2 small sections, chopped them up, filled the entire wheelbarrow almost more than it would hold, and went home. And I realized how little of a tree that was, and that'll heat our house for a week. So we really don't use much as humans. It's a lie.
Like 2 perhaps beach ball sized hunks of wood chopped up, and that's it.
Yeah. And then I think about my breakfast in the morning, the teeny tiny little bit of grain I eat. Humans do not consume that much. This is a big lie. We are not the problem. The problem is corporate greed. It's maniacal. And this actually brings me to the topic of the day, which is, again, the energetic war on humanity. We're going to talk about one of the most major assaults on us, which is EMF. We talk about it a lot. But today, we're going to talk about specific things in your life and what you can do about them. Because I know many people throw their hands up in the air when I bring up this issue. What can I do? What can I do? These are just the devices we have. There are ways you can learn to use your technology responsibly. You do not need to inundate yourself with dangerous frequencies. You could still be connected. You could still use your social media. You could still talk to friends and family and watch whatever programs you want, but you don't need to kill yourself in the process.
It just has to be done in a more conscious and responsible manner. That's really the only difference here. We're still using the same devices, just A, not as much, and B, with a little bit of forethought, we can completely transform our homes and lead by example, and other people will follow. That's how the 100th monkey effect works.
Well, I'm actually going to tell you today what we've done and in detail because otherwise it just sounds kind of nebulous. So here's how I kind of decided we needed to talk about this. I've been getting emails. I get a lot of emails from people with questions, and many of the people who email me, I would say equal amounts are concerned with chemtrails and EMF. And anybody who knows about one generally knows about the other, it seems nowadays. A lot of these emails I get at the bottom says sent from my iPhone. Quite a lot, I've noticed. And many emails are regarding EMF protection and things we can do about EMF, and they're sent from an iPhone. So right off, I see that many people are sending emails from a device that's killing them. And this concerns me very much. I get a lot of emails that concern me. And I actually respond. I respond to almost everything I get. I mean, sometimes you might send something back to me and maybe I don't get back right away.
Well, we do our best. We do get a lot. Both of us get a lot of emails, and we do our best to respond to everything and to try and do so in a timely manner. But we are very, very busy these days. But yeah, sometimes I I get the same thing too. You know, someone is asking about, you know, various EMF related questions, even if it's not has nothing to do with chemtrails. They're still curious, and then same thing. You see, it's sent from my smartphone.
So let's talk a little bit about
Yes.
using technology responsibly.
Let's do
because
that.
I think that people think I'm anti-technology. I most certainly am not. I'm using technology right now to do this broadcast. I use technology all day. I use the internet hours and hours and hours a day.
We have to for our work and for the things that we do in our daily life.
And I speak on the phone too.
And many other people, it's the same thing. They need that. They need these devices for their job or even hobbies that they do.
So let's just.
So we understand. We're not Luddites here, like you said. We're just trying to present things in a different light.
So let's sit back and relax and let's think about our cell phones. We all have them. It's a part of our lives. What we need to do with the cell phone is understand its use, understand how it is important to us, and how to use it responsibly. I'm talking about changing your habits, changing your mindset, and being conscious of your use of the device, not getting rid of it. I have one too. I have an iPhone, in fact, and I have had an iPhone for the past few months. I switched from a dumb phone to a smartphone because we had to for our work. And I understand many people have to for their work. However, my work that involves the smartphone is only a few days a month at most.
Very minimal.
Very minimal. So let's talk about it, okay? We have cell phones, we have to use them. What we don't have to do is be at everybody's beck and call constantly. We feel the need to have that phone on us all the time and on in case someone gets in touch. I actually remember a day when I didn't have a cell phone and I had a job, I had responsibilities, and I got phone calls. When I was out of the house, people left messages on my machine. When I got back, I answered it. Now, I understand if you have to be in touch with someone right now, you got to have your phone on you. But if you don't, let's say you're going out for a half hour to do a quick errand, why don't you just leave it at home? If you don't need to be in touch right then, because when you get home, it'll be there waiting for you, and any texts that came in, any messages will be right there. I feel like by saying this, I'm already alienating everybody. I get a lot of resistance.
What about all the people who are listening to the show on their phones that are...
I know.
Click.
Okay.
I'm done with that.
What I'm saying is, let's try to live in the moment. We are so scattered. We are so inundated with information. Let's try to live in the moment. Here's an example. We live in the mountains. Our town has one cell tower, and that's Verizon.
And you can bet it's been thoroughly gifted with organizing.
It has. But the residents of this town begged for that cell tower. Can you believe it? Here's a town that had no EMF emitting cell tower at all. People here are mostly retired or in their homes. If they go out, they're only a few minutes from their homes. They can come home and answer the phone then, check the messages then. But for some reason, this town wanted a cell tower, and now I go out hiking or going to chop wood with Gabriel in the forest, and sure enough, there are people on the trails listening to the phones, looking at the phones.
In the middle of nature.
You're surrounded by beautiful countryside, trees, sagebrush, animals, rabbits, squirrels, chipmunks. Don't you want to look at the beautiful nature? Your house is a few minutes away. There's plenty of time to look at your computer, your email, your phone, your messages. Let's enjoy the moment.
Yeah, we're in a small town. It's not like these people are traveling for several hours and going out on a hike in the middle of the trees. No, they're right down the street.
Well, I mean, here the other day we were out there and there was a mom and her daughter and a little girl on the trail walking, and they had the phone playing out loud. I just don't think this is a great example for your children. I just don't think this is how we were meant to live.
I'll take it a step further. It's a poor example. It's a very poor example. When you're out in the middle of nature to be doing that. It's like, enough already.
I know. Well, I'm not just talking about the health aspects. I'm talking about the mental health aspects. The relationships that we have with our loved ones, we should be in the here and now. There's plenty of time for that phone call when you're done with the hike. Spend some time, enjoy your surroundings, enjoy the moment. I just don't know what the urgency is. You're not that important. I'm not that important. You know, if someone wants to reach me, I come home, I check the message, I call them back. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like when I say this, that many people will get angry and resistant.
Defensive.
But it's just a matter of think about it. Think about how you use it. Try to have periods of your day without it. In fact, what I've advised to my readers the other day when I was writing about this was try not using it for a while and see how you feel. Then use it again and see how you feel. Notice, pay attention to your body, your mind, your back and shoulders as well, your eyes, and notice how your body's reacting. Because this is about EMF, but it's more than that. It's about staring at that tiny little LED screen, and you're going to notice your posture is worse when you use it. Your eyes will start to hurt, and you're going to start to feel more agitated. So, I don't know, just try it for yourself, see how it makes you feel.
At least people can be aware of an A and B. They can compare one state to the other, and maybe start to realize, at least be aware that it's not just one thing all the time, that there is an alternative to that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this that much.
Well, also,
like that kind of thing.
And not even a should or shouldn't, but there's a time and a place. Back in the day before we had the cell phones, there was a time and a place for a nature walk. There was a time and a place to talk on the phone. There was a time and a place to read, to do your work. So now we feel like we have to always be at everyone's command. And I've actually had people get mad at me because I'm not a cell phone user and can't get back to them immediately. But you know what? I'm really good, though. I'll get back within a very short amount of time. I do the best I can. I think it's about learning patience. And a lot of time when I bring this up, people say, well, what about the cell phone harmonizers? Definitely use one when you use a phone. Have a harmonizer. But I have to say, I don't always agree with everything our guests say on the show. I agree with most of what they say. And one of the things I didn't agree with was Brian Besco. I agreed with everything he said except that the cell phone harmonizer makes the cell phone radiation beneficial. I do not think it does that. What I think it does is it makes it less harmful, which is great. But there is nothing on this earth, in my opinion, that will make your cell phone beneficial. It is a technology to be used consciously, sparingly, and when needed.
The power button, that helps If you hit the power button, then it goes off. Then it's not nearly as harmful.
Well, that brings me to the next issue, which is surveillance.
Oh yeah.
Even when your phone is off, it still knows where you are. And another reason to curb the usage and maybe leave it at home is to just say, I don't need to be watched right now. I'm going for a walk. This is my time. The NSA does not need to know where I am right now. They can think I'm at home. It doesn't matter. They don't need to know. This is my time. I don't need to be on call because I'm taking some time for myself. So it's very important to me to get this point across because I would love it. I would just love it if you emailed me from your computer at home because then I would know that you took the time for yourself to do what you needed to do and then you went home and emailed me in a more healthy way.
It's a lot, excuse me, it's a lot better that way. And in lieu of that, though, many times all we get is excuses. As far as the EMF harmonizers go, I'll never forget that talk you did at 5D where everyone's holding up their phone with their little thing around it. It's a quick fix mentality, and it's kind of a problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I say use the harmonizer. It's definitely wise.
I'm not saying not use it. I'm just saying to rely on that and think that everything is just rosy now.
And that's why I didn't agree with Brian about the tensor ring making it beneficial. It simply doesn't. But what it does, tensor rings, Oregon Energy, Ken Rolla has a harmonizer that he sells for cell phones. What it does is it restructures EMF to make it coherent and less chaotic. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means it's less harmful, which is great. But Ken Rolla himself, who sells a harmonizer, said the best thing to do is turn off the phone and only use it when you have to, and use your computer to do emails. And your computer should be hardwired too. We're going to get to that soon.
We'll get into
and
that.
Actually, I'm going to explain exactly how to do it so it doesn't seem mysterious because it's no mystery.
But the problem with the quick fix mentality is that it does indeed glom on to ideas like the EMF harmonizers, and through that it attempts to remove any and all need for personal responsibility and for research. People have to look into things and see what is harmful and ways to legitimately counteract what's harmful, not just rely on something and think that their work is done and they can now just continue eating Cheetos and watching football.
Well, I actually love technology. I think it's very valuable. And I even like the iPhone I have for what I use it for. I'm very happy to have a tool for travel that helps me. And that's all it's for, is for contact when I'm traveling and to run the Square application for our events. It's very simple and I'm grateful to it and I appreciate it. I love my computer. I love technology because I've done so much with it. Recorded music, made digital artwork. There's so much that can be done. But what's important is that we take control of the technology rather than letting it control us. And we need to keep our minds about us, which brings me to my next major pet peeve, which is GPS. I never use GPS. I don't have GPS. I don't want GPS. I don't need a tracking device in my car that tells the NSA where I am at every moment. I like maps.
Well, I think and I'm right with you, Sharon. I think the most bothersome aspect of GPS is that it's like the default now.
I know.
There are no maps anymore.
I know. People just assume you're using it.
Yes.
They just assume you're using GPS. So I'll get the directions and someone will say, by the way, your GPS will tell you this. I'm like, my GPS isn't telling me anything. I have a Thomas guide and a California road map, okay?
If your Thomas guide starts talking to you, you may want to take less LSD.
But see, now again, this is one that's really bothersome to people because so many people say, I can't read maps. It's so difficult. I can't read maps. It's confusing.
What did you do in 1980?
Well, some people weren't alive yet then, Gabriel.
Like me.
Okay. But
I am one of them.
But in the 90s, I didn't have GPS. I didn't even have a computer. I used a Thomas guide to get around LA. I still do. And here's what I do, okay? I use Google Maps at home, and I study the route, and I write down the directions, and I know exactly where I'm going. Some of the problems with GPS, big one is that it's emitting EMF in your car. You're sitting there and being bombarded.
In an enclosed space.
And you don't need that. You just don't need it. You're being watched. That thing, believe me, is telling the government or whoever wants to know where you are. GPS is how they do the next trip function for the buses in Los Angeles and across the country. The GPS is monitoring location.
It's not making the buses move any faster.
No, it certainly is not. But you could tell when 3 of them are sitting at the depot eating McDonald's, right?
Well, the buses aren't eating McDonald's. No. Those who are driving the bus
you could tell.
Or are supposed to be driving the bus but are not driving the bus.
There's 3 210s stuck at the Yucca layover in Hollywood. And all you want to do is just get down to Willoughby. Okay, sorry. Too much Hollywood references. Spent a long time in Hollywood. But you definitely... I know. But so you want to learn to read a map. I know it sounds very daunting. It really isn't that hard. And it's great to know where you're going in advance. It's liberating to know where you're going in advance.
Absolutely. And in fact, that's how we travel. When we do our Organite gifting, do you think we're taking a GPS along telling us where the next cell phone tower is to be busted? I don't think so.
No, we don't even look at antenna search because I don't want them knowing what I've looked at. You know they look at everything you're looking at, right? Your internet usage is public.
Why assist them in any way? It's invasive and omnipresent enough. Why aid them any further?
So when we travel, we do not use GPS, and if we're Organite gifting, our phone is off and wrapped in foil because I do not need them to know what towers I've busted. I mean, they know anyway because they're malfunctioning and it's raining and the chemtrails aren't lasting, but they'll never find that Organite.
They find out after the fact.
I couldn't even find the Organite because we throw it in random places. It'd be impossible. So let's not give them access to every part of our lives. Oh, I've heard it all. I need the iPhone because of my security system. I need to turn on my heater before I get home. Turn on the heater after you get home. Be cold for 10 minutes and don't get cancer. Anyway, I get upset. I'm sorry. I get upset because we're letting computers run our lives. It's pathetic. And humans are letting their minds go. And even the conscious people, even the people who get in touch with me to find out what they can do for chemtrails, to find out what they can do for EMF, still, it's not necessarily their faults, but they maybe just don't know there's an alternative. And I'm here to offer the alternative, to use your technology wisely. So, what can we do about the Wi-Fi in our houses? Because right now I'm telling you, don't email me on the cell phone unless you have to, which you don't. Use your computer at home. That's what I said, right? Use your computer at home to read your map before you leave. But if you're using Wi-Fi, you're hurting yourself. So, do you have to live in the Stone Age? No. We have computers. We have internet. We have internet in our office. We have internet in our living room. We could have it in whatever bedroom we want. We just don't choose to. We're going to tell you how to do it.
We have delightful little things called cables. They have adapters at each end, and in between there's a series of wires, and they connect the two ends together. It's really cool stuff. Because it's not emitting frequencies just thrown out into the room like a massive explosion of electromagnetic frequencies.
You mean that information is all contained within a cable?
It appears so, Sharon. It appears so.
You mean like...
I was trying to sound like Data from Star Trek there. It appears so.
Well,
is that good?
Data's my favorite computer. I love him. And
Worf is my favorite Klingon.
Well, he would have to be.
There's other Klingons.
Yeah, but Worf is the best. Okay. But I digress.
This is true.
Let's talk about Wi-Fi, because I am old enough to remember a day when I didn't have internet access, and then I remembered the 56K modem. Do you guys remember the 56K modems?
I had a 28.8.
Okay. That's the Stone Age. But...
Well, cheap Jewish parents, though.
Well, yeah, that'll do it. We didn't have a computer at all. Cheap Jewish parents. However...
I notice a theme here.
Well, growing up Jewish is the pits. We'll cover that around Christmas.
Or Hanukkah. You never know.
But I remember the day when I first got the modem, 56K modem, that went over the phone line. It wasn't wireless. It went directly into the computer. Then I remember that beautiful day when I got the cable modem. We plugged our computer into it. There was no Wi-Fi. Then, somewhere around 2002, the day of Wi-Fi came, and I was ecstatic. And I spent years enjoying Wi-Fi because I didn't know how dangerous it was. In fact, I believe that the faster the Wi-Fi speeds became, the worse it got. Because when I had that wireless B modem, I didn't notice much. When I had the wireless G, I didn't notice much. Then I got something from Comcast cable, or Time Warner cable, I mean, and that thing kept me awake all night. So I think the speeds got faster and faster to where it got to the point where I started to notice.
And also more and more towers kept getting put in, and that's inexplicably going to make you feel worse.
So let's talk about what we did, because I'd like to explain this in a way that is not so nebulous, because I'm always saying, go hardwired, go hardwired. This is what I did. The cable company recently switched the modems that come with the service to be wireless no matter what. Okay? That's what they're doing.
They're forcing giving
it.
people
Now,
no other alternative.
I'm asking you to look at your modem, and that includes the ladies. Ladies, please move the couch and look at what's behind it. Because for some reason, women have a harder time doing this than men. But it's not rocket science. And if a man can do it, for sure a woman can, okay? So look at the modem. What does it look like? Does it have antennas on it? If it has antennas on it, you've got Wi-Fi. Now, what can you do? Go on Amazon and look up non-Wi-Fi modems.
They do exist.
They exist. Write down the model number. Call your cable company. Ask them, is this modem compatible with your service? And
I do believe that the companies must have at least one option that is not a Wi-Fi, like, exclusively.
Well, we'll see. Okay? But I ask many people, oh, what kind of modem do you have? Do you have a modem? And they say, I don't know. And I say, well, do you have a cable company that you pay the bill to? And then they'll know they have cable. Please look at your modem. It's not that hard to do. There's not that many inputs on it. It's a simple device. If it doesn't have antennas, great. But it still might be Wi-Fi. So find out. If you've got signal going around your house, you've got Wi-Fi. If you have an old-fashioned modem, then you would have needed to get a Wi-Fi router to send that signal around your house. So here's what we did. When we had cable in Los Angeles, we bought a non-Wi-Fi modem. Then you don't have to pay the rental fees to your cable company. Then you can get a non-Wi-Fi router. Here in the mountains, we have satellite internet, which is not my preferred option, but it's all we have right now. But the modem is non-Wi-Fi. So we bought a non-Wi-Fi TP-Link router on Amazon. It cost $26. It has multiple outputs. You can have many computers. All your family members can have their own computer in their own room. So you want to make sure it doesn't have antennas. It's a hardwired router, no Wi-Fi. Then you buy network cables, Ethernet cables. And no, it's not messy. You can run them along your walls neatly, and you get these little brackets. They're like little U-nails. They're insulated nails that you can buy at the hardware store. This is all very inexpensive.
Just clip them along the baseboards.
Yep.
They're out of the way. You don't even really see them, and you just there's no issue with tripping over anything because it's all very well contained. I think the most confusing part for most people is the difference between a modem and a router. I think that's the hang up for a lot of folks.
So let's talk about that,
Yeah.
because ladies, it's not rocket science. Okay, you're as smart as guys, if not smarter.
Sharon, stop picking on the women.
Well, I just feel like...
This is the women's lib section of the human
Well, I'm a
frequency.
lady, so I'm allowed. I find when I talk to women, they are almost unwilling to look at the equipment. Equipment is for everyone, not just men. Okay, look at your modem. The modem is what's coming in, where the signal's coming in. You'll see the cable connected to the modem coming out of the wall. That's where the signal's coming in. Then you'll see an Ethernet cable coming out of that, and it's probably plugged into a little device with antennas on it. That's your Wi-Fi, and that's it. There's nothing coming out of that except tons of EMF all over your house. Now, if you just have
Cancer for everyone.
if you have only one device and you're finding yourself on Wi-Fi, it means your modem is transmitting. So that's when you know that you want to get a new modem that is non-Wi-Fi. So, if you have any questions, please email me, fakeclouds@thekembo.com. I'll be happy to answer them. But I feel like I've answered them because it's very, very simple. And when you decide to go hardwired, what you do is instead of getting a Wi-Fi router, you get a non-Wi-Fi router, and you'll see there's one input that goes from your modem to your router and multiple outputs that go to all your computers. Simple.
And if you have any complaints, anything angry to say, any communist propaganda, please email me at blueskies@thekembo.com.
Communist propaganda? Are we back to Agenda 21?
I hope not. Now we're getting into the scary stuff you were mentioning earlier.
Well, what's more scary than a smart meter? Okay, smart meters. I get emails from people saying the smart meter's going in, or my friend's getting a smart meter. Why are you getting the smart meter in, and why is your friend getting a smart meter?
Do you want them in?
Call your utility company and say no, opt out. Don't let them do it. There's no way they have the right to do that to your house. By the way, you have the right to opt out. They can't force it on you. So first off, opt out. If for whatever reason you don't, I recommend you do, because there's no reason to let the utility company watch your energy usage and infect your home with EMF.
$75 extra is not a good reason to have a cancer device next to your room when you sleep.
I just want to know, why are we being victims? Why are we consenting to being victims? We have the right to opt out. Please opt out. Okay, for whatever reason, let's say
In
you
LA,
can't.
it's free.
That's true. If for whatever reason you can't, you can get a smart meter shield that blocks 98% of the radiation. Alternatively, you can get a tensor ring from twistedsage.com, which neutralizes a lot of it. But I say, please opt out. Why are we being victims? This is what this comes down to, is what we're dealing with all these wireless devices is people are just letting it happen. It's like, try to remember the days before all this stuff was around. Try to remember when you didn't have Wi-Fi, when you didn't have a cell phone. Did you survive? Yes, you did. Can you survive in the current paradigm? Yes, you can. You can use the internet. You can use any social media you want. You can be connected with all your friends and family, but you don't need EMF to do it. Okay? You can be just like everyone else without the poison. Granted, your computer is still emitting EMF, but you can reduce it by getting rid of Wi-Fi, disabling the Wi-Fi router, disabling the Wi-Fi input on your computer. It's easy to do, and you can still be connected.
What the computer is emitting, though, is it pales in comparison to these devices that are intentionally constructed to put out as much of this toxic radiation as possible.
This is all by design.
This is all by design.
And I wanted to mention, too, if you don't like cell towers going in your neighborhood, then think about the contribution that each and every one of us is making to making the cell towers a reality. Think about that addiction to the device. We cannot have the quick fix mentality and take away personal responsibility. Do you want internet on your phone? Then you're going to have a cell tower in your neighborhood. Do you want faster internet on your phone? You're going to get another one.
10 cell towers.
Do you want a cell phone just for emergency communication, a dumb phone just to call your mom? Then you'll have way fewer cell towers. Because the market demands faster and faster cancer-emitting devices, EMF-emitting cancer devices. I would say
they emit cancer.
Would you say the EMF is a cancer on this earth?
I would say so.
Okay, do you want internet access on your phone? Then you're going to have a cell phone tower. That's all I could say. We got to think about our own role in this and take responsibility for the electromagnetic pollution in our neighborhoods. This is not about appealing to a government. Oh, please don't put a cell tower in here. Well, what's going to operate your cell phone?
And then they act all surprised when the cell tower comes in anyway.
You know, it's just about looking at your own life and making these changes.
personal responsibility and research. It takes effort to do this. It doesn't just everything falls in your lap and it's perfect. The cell towers are gone, the chemtrails are gone, everyone's not a total idiot anymore.
Do you know what would happen if the cell towers and the chemtrails went away today? Everyone would just watch television. Everything would be the same. They would watch TV, they would eat junk food, and they'd look outside and say, oh good, someone took care of that icky sky for me and now I don't have to look at it. We have to participate in our world. You're participating in your world whether or not you realize you're doing it.
Here's an easy act of participation. Light bulbs.
Oh, yes.
Get those CFL bulbs out. Don't throw them away. You don't want those ending up in a landfill with, 40 tons of garbage weighing them down and crushing them. Then you got mercury in the ground. No, you take them to Home Depot or something like that. LADWP will take care of it in Los Angeles. If you live somewhere else, obviously there's other methods. But get rid of them. Go back to incandescent bulbs. They are not illegal, contrary to popular belief.
They can't be illegal because there's no law. I mean, I know there's supposedly they made a law against them.
Nope.
No, there isn't. They're available everywhere.
You can find them just about anywhere. They still exist in all kinds of denominations, 30 watt, 50 watt, 60 watt.
What about those people who say, I'm going to be wasting energy using an incandescent bulb?
That's complete malarkey is what it is, because the CFL bulbs take 40% more energy to produce and 90 times as much energy to dispose of safely. So the whole energy efficiency argument needs to be rejected entirely because it's fictitious.
It is. So here's a few simple things you can do for your house. Hardwire your internet. I just told you how. It's easy. Reduce your cell phone usage. It will be so beneficial. Trust me. I didn't say get rid of it. Limit your time and create cell phone free times a day.
Including the nighttime. Turn the phone off at night. Get an alarm clock if you have to. That's not an excuse to keep the cell phone on all night.
Not airplane mode either.
No. Off.
Turn it off. Get some rest. Get some rest. Let yourself heal. Get rid of those CFL bulbs. Oh, get rid of your cordless phones.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. A cordless phone, what do you think it's doing? The base of the cordless phone is like a cell phone tower in your kitchen.
I know.
And the phone is like the cell phone. So it's the same thing. You need a corded landline. Cords are your friend. That's
I love cords. People don't like cords. They're messy. You know what? It's a lot less messy than cancer in your body. Humans, wake up. Human beings. Let's stop being victims. Let's stop being pathetic. Let's take control of our technology. Let's control our technology and use it for our needs. Let's make it work for us. Don't be a victim of your technology. Don't sit back and let telecommunications companies tell you that this cell phone is safe, because when you read the fine print, you'll see that it isn't.
Chords are your friend. B flat minor 9 is actually my favorite, but that's a whole other story. You've been listening to The Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio. As promised, we have our special guest, Gina Weiss, with us today. We're going to talk all about these amazing medicine wheel ceremonies that happened in Big Bear back in 2004. We're going to be going up to Big Bear for an event this weekend, which Gina is sponsoring on Saturday, the 29th. And I'm going to be talking all about orgone energy and basically continuing the work that was started back in 2004 with these medicine wheel ceremonies done by Rainbow Thunderheart, who goes by many different names. So let me introduce our special guest. Gina Weiss is a licensed marriage and family therapist providing counseling and consulting services to individuals, families, and businesses in the Big Bear Valley since 1985. Gina offers a unique approach to psychotherapy that accesses and utilizes the client's inner wisdom and guidance. Healing the source of the symptoms, rather than their management or control, is the intended outcome of her inner healing process. On a community level, Gina founded Bear Valley Children's Network, Mountain Healing Arts Association, and Big Bear Thrives. as well as having initiated and facilitated the Big Bear Medicine Wheel ceremonies of Benny Blue Thunder LeBeau and sponsored local presentations by Dr. Masaru Emoto, Christian Hummel, and others. I am so happy to have Gina with us today. Gina, I'd like to welcome you to the Human Frequency.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. I was so excited when you first emailed me last year after hearing one of my
Hmm.
interviews, and I saw your name and I knew exactly who you were because I had just
Hmm.
watched recently Healing the Earth's Sacred Sites, which was the documentary about the work you did with Blue Thunder, otherwise known as Rainbow
Hmm.
Thunderheart or Bavado. And when you
Hmm.
emailed me, I knew who
Right.
you were. And I said, wow, it's Gina.
And I was
I'm a
so excited when
witness.
you emailed me back and said, I know who you are. That was great.
It's so amazing that we've met each other because the work that you guys did up there and the work that we've been doing around California is very similar. And Rainbow Thunderheart introduced himself to us because the work was similar and he saw that similarity. So, Gina, I just would love for you to just introduce yourself and talk about the work that you guys did up there in Big Bear.
Oh, I love the opportunity to talk about this because it was the most magical experience I've ever had in my life. And it was intense. It went on for quite some time. And the whole relationship with Bavado, learning, and to me, he was kind of a catalyst for me, or I should say, a catapult. There was nothing gentle in the opening, the awakening that he prompted within me. So, part of what I want to share is the medicine wheel story, but I also want to share what I experienced through this process and through just knowing him and working with him. And for people that are not aware, he did cross over in June of this year. Um, so we were very grateful to have the experience to have known him for, since 2004. But for people that don't know, Big Bear is a resort town in Southern California in the San Bernardino Mountains, and it's about 100 miles east of Los Angeles. And we have a 7-mile long lake with 20 some miles of shoreline. So it's a major fishing, boating, recreational area. And then we also have ski slopes in the wintertime. So water obviously is crucial to our environment, and we
Yeah.
do not have any water pumped in. It all comes from precipitation and is stored in our aquifers. So everything is affected by the water situation here. Now, the sort of background before the medicine wheel ceremony was that the year before, in 2003, there were massive wildfires in Southern California. And in October, the entire mountaintop from the Lake Arrowhead area on one end to the Big Bear area on the other end was completely evacuated. We all had to leave. And we were all off the mountain for, I don't remember, 3, 4, 5 days. And that was a huge wake up call for me. And I think it was a wake up for everybody that lived here to appreciate the place more. We really realized how precious our mountain was, because when you're elsewhere and you're watching television and you're watching houses burn and you're thinking, well, what's going to happen if there's nothing for me to go back to? It just gives you a whole different perspective, you know, about where you live. So that's kind of the background of what happened before we even got to the 2004 part of the drought. So that the following year, in 2004, we were in our um, sixth year of drought up here. We had a huge bark beetle infestation. Our trees were brown, they were dying, it looked terrible. The lake was 17 and a half feet down. The docks had to be moved out into the center, further out into the lake. There's an island near the dam that had become a peninsula. You could walk to it. And it was such a
Wow.
desperate situation that the city council, the water agencies, and even the ski resort had pledged uh, just close to $500,000 to spend over the next 3 years to seed the clouds. And that
Well,
was
let
the
me just
plan.
clarify
That
real
was it.
quick. You said 17 and a half feet, correct? Not 17 and a half inches?
Yeah,
That's
feet.
tremendous.
Yeah,
No.
it is. It is. It really affected the shoreline and where people could get to their boats. Um, so the cloud seeding was supposed to start in December of 2004. Now, I had been part of a long-standing meditation circle And Robin Bradley is part of that circle, and she had gone the previous year to a conference called Journey to the Heart, the gathering put on by Journey to the Heart. And that was a conference of wisdom keepers, elders, indigenous healers, shaman, etc., from all over the world, from like over 30 countries. So Robin had suggested to our group that we go. And so a lot of us went to the conference that year, and it was held from September 9th to 12th at one of the camps nearby Big Bear, partway down the mountain. So we had had no rain for I don't know how many weeks or months at that point. There was no rain predicted that day, but on September 9th, when I started driving down the mountain to go to Journey to the Heart, it was pouring. I mean, really, really pouring. And it hit me that somebody down there knew what they were doing. So when I got there, the first talk that I went to, and again, this is one of those things where I almost feel like I'm a puppet. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm doing something that I'm guided to do, but I don't know I'm being guided to do it.
I
Does
do
that
know
make
what you
sense?
mean. I do exactly know what you mean.
Yes, I
You're
do too.
you're in the path.
Yeah.
You're being guided.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, most of the people in our group went to go listen to somebody else. Carol Treadwell and I went to sit down to listen to Benny LeBeau. Not quite sure why, but that was what I chose. So when I sat down, this was the very first thing. I was sitting next to one of the grandmothers, and I asked her, "Do you know who called the rain today?" And she said, "Yeah, he did." And she pointed to him. So I ran up to him. What's that? Is that music? Anyway, I ran up to Benny before he started talking, and I said, "I live here. I would like you to help us with this drought. Would you talk to me when you're done speaking?" So he did. Anyway, as far as the various names go, I'll
Yes.
mention that he was introduced before he was giving the talk on the Grand Teton medicine wheel, which is what he was there to talk about. He was introduced by, I believe it was the woman who channeled a book called Spoken Truth. And that book is messages from indigenous Native American chiefs and elders, wisdom people. And she was given the name Blue Thunder. She was told that he was Blue Thunder, and it sounded to me at the time like it was a prophecy. It was kind of some kind of prophecy that was being fulfilled, and that he was very special. And when I did meet with him after his talk, I said, "What do I call you? Shall I call you Blue Thunder or Benny LeBeau?" And he said, "Let's stick with Benny. I'm not comfortable with Blue Thunder yet," because it was just new. By the following year, he was Blue Thunder. So, and then the last couple of years, it was Bavado Rainbow Thunderheart.
Yes.
So you'll hear all of that. So the talk that he gave, to try to do it, say briefly, it was fascinating. The caldera, like a volcano underneath Yellowstone Lake, there was a lot of seismic activity at Yellowstone, and it was getting very bad.
Yes.
And he had a vision that if he could see this circle on the country. It was like a 600-mile radius, so 1,200 miles across, from the Grand Tetons and these 19 sacred sites, which were largely waterways and mountaintops. And he knew that if he could get people to do ceremony on all of these sites simultaneously with the hub at the Grand Tetons, that it would kind of rewire the energy grid and calm the caldera. And somehow this man managed to do this by himself, travel all the way, find these locations, find native people, other people to work with him to do this. And it worked. And I actually have the USGS data, and because I got into truly trying to document this. It really worked.
This is that time period where on TV they were showing a lot of things about the supervolcano in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I remember
that
seeing
too.
those, and it was very scary. And I had no idea that there was somebody out there working on stopping it. And then I never heard about it again by the next year.
Right. Right. Yeah. And yeah.
And of course, the media
actually,
will always drum up anything that's negative or scary.
Well, it's very scary, the idea of a supervolcano, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, I do remember that it just, all that talk just kind of went away.
And it's all
soon
because of
thereafter.
it's because of Bavado.
It was, and it was in May 2004. So then here it is, September 2004, and he's speaking about this. So we got together after his talk, and we were just sitting on a picnic table at the down there. This whole conference was outdoors for the most part, and I just had this amazing sense of his love and genuineness. You know, you when you feel right about something, you just know it, and that was what my experience was talking to him. And he said, yeah, we can do this kind of a ceremony here and restore the normal weather patterns. So I set up a meeting between Bovado and all the people that I knew that were there from Big Bear area and Running Springs area, which is also a neighboring community on the mountain. And we met with him one evening for quite some time, and he explained how he would do this and what we would do. Another interesting thing that happened was that it was just like the day before I went to the conference that I happened to see in our local newspaper about the cloud seeding. I didn't know anything about it. All of these board meetings for these 5 agencies, well, Snow Summit's not an agency, the other 4, let's say, were were going on, and they're talking about this and they're proving money, but nobody goes to these meetings. You know, nobody knows what's going on. So by the time it was in the Grizzly, it was already done. It was going to happen. So um, I brought up the cloud seeding while we were all meeting, and Bovado said, "Well, that's not safe. You know, that's silver iodide. That's not healthy." And Joe Bradley, Robin Bradley's husband, who is still a physics teacher at the local high school, was very interested in the effect on the environment and how this was going to impact us if we were to do it. And, that he just was really interested in that end of it. So we, okay, so let's see, what Bobbitt explained to us at that meeting was that the, just like our bodies have systems, we have a circulatory system and nervous system and an energetic system with chakras and meridians and all of that, that the earth is also a body, and that it has, the trees are the lungs, and the waterways are the blood, the circulatory system. And there's an energy system of ley lines and these sacred sites and these mountaintops and whatnot, and that everything is connected, from the clouds to the earth, the trees, how everything worked together. And that the way that we live, where when we do mining and bombing and drilling and cutting through roads, for roads, all the things that we do in such an unconscious way, that we're cutting through these energy lines, and that's why we're disrupting what would naturally be the weather patterns. So we're really tinkering with nature without even really realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it made perfect sense. Yeah. And so we went back. The conference was over. We had our meditation circle the following evening, and we were sitting around going, okay, we have to get this guy here. It's September now. They're going to cloud seed in December. We have to get him here before it starts snowing, possibly in November. Lives in Wyoming. You know, he didn't want to be paid, but he needed to be taken care of. Obviously, he needed to be housed and everything. So we go, okay, what do we do first? What should we do? What should we do? And basically, Robin and I said, why don't we do all of it? And Joe said, I'll take on the cloud seeding, and Sue Catuli helped Joe with that. And uh, the short story of that is that it's really Joe's research that stopped the cloud seeding.
I
That's a
see.
whole other show.
Wow. Okay, so
And
you guys are actually able
yeah,
to, on that kind of policy level, stop them from cloud seeding.
we didn't. What happened was Joe had done it. Oh, this is going to be okay.
Another story. That's
Joe had,
okay.
like I said, it's a big story, but it's a big story. But what the beauty of it is that okay, the municipal water district takes care of our lake. That's one water agency. They were the lead agency on the cloud seeding. Then there's 2 water departments: the Department of Water and Power, and that takes care of the west end of the valley, and the east end of the valley water is Big Bear City Community Services District. And then there's the BARWA, which is the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater. They take care of the sewage, etc. And then there was Snow Summit that contributed some money also. So these other places, and then City Council. So that between the City Council and the water agencies, there's all board meetings, right? And City Council meetings. Well, we started going en masse. Joe had his students go. I mean, he invited them. They could go if they wanted to. I sent out email, let people know what was going on. We're going to be talking about this at this meeting. Well, there was never so much attendance at these meetings before. So anyway, what actually ended up stopping it was that Joe had given his information to, as well as all the boards and all the people, I mean, he handled this really beautifully, to the Santa Ana Water Quality Review, some board that's in charge of the lake, okay, that funds, that gives a great deal of funding to the municipal water district that handles the lake.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is at the very last minute, on the day that there was supposed to be a secret meeting where community members could, speak to the issue of the cloud seeding, the letter came from the Water Quality Review Board, and it said no, basically.
Good, because cloud seeding doesn't
You
even
know,
work. It's just pure pollution, and
right,
it has
right,
almost no effectiveness at increasing rain and can only be done in
absolutely,
the exact right circumstances where it's going to rain
right,
anyway.
Yeah.
And even then, it barely does anything. So I'm glad you guys were able to
right.
stop it.
Yeah, so, basically the MWD came out and said, oh, we're canceling the sequel because we've decided we want to do an environmental impact study first. Well, they were told they'd have to do an environmental impact study, but they were also told that they were going to have their funding yanked if they did this. And because of what was being studied in the lake, that more water might have impacted the research. So for whatever various reasons, it was stopped. It was stopped, and then we didn't hear about it again until now. But I don't think it's going to happen
It's
again.
not going to happen because
So
now we're coming up to
it's not
finish, or to not to finish,
To
but to
continue.
continue what's already been started. And that's what's going to
right,
be so
right,
exciting is that you guys already have a foundation up in Big Bear, but you need another
hmm
push. And so
right,
you always
definitely,
need a rush
definitely.
of energy, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm excited.
It is a continuation, and we do that a lot in our work. It's called maintenance
Mm,
gifting, and it's
right,
what it is it's an addition to a gifting that was already done in the past, where it either needs
hmm
more or there's been other things happening to sort of try and offset the initial gifting or what have you. So it just requires additional action, and it
right,
makes
right.
it completes it takes it to the next level, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Well, Gina, I want
Oh
to
yeah, and
mention
it's
that.
interesting.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that in the film, in Healing the
hmm
Earth's Sacred Sites, there were
hmm
amazing things going on in the sky during those ceremonies. And I was really
hmm
amazed to watch all of you guys dancing and chanting. And the sky had spirals in it. And that's
Yeah.
and actually Bavano pointed them out. And this is
Yeah.
exactly what we see in our work. You guys were
hmm
generating you were generating life energy, and
hmm
through your own bodies, through your own spirits,
hmm
and through your
hmm
dancing and singing, you are healing, literally healing the earth.
And through the medicine wheel assembly
Yeah.
itself.
Right,
Yes.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So when we had met with him and he explained what he was going to do and everything, and we go back and we decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make it all happen. So Robin and I kind of set to fundraise. I'd been practicing in Big Bear since 1985. I think Robin came about 5 years later. She's a psychologist. And so we both knew a lot of people. And, and Joe is a teacher and all of us as parents and everything, the people in the community. It's a small community. So we just started calling people and saying, hey, we've got this idea and can you contribute some money or housing or something? And miraculously, we did. But I'll tell you, if we had not had that previous year where everybody had to evacuate, I don't think we could have had everyone's ear the way that we did. There was a whole different consciousness after we had to leave and we had to really think about it.
Yeah,
So,
it needed that large scale wake up call,
right.
not just a small
People
thing.
were
But this was
open-minded.
enough to really get the
Right.
attention of a lot of people on a large scale.
Exactly. So people were a lot more open-minded than I think they might have otherwise been. So again, everything seemed like divine providence. Um, so then, okay, so now we've decided we're going to bring him here. We start collecting funds and everything. Um, I found out what it was he was going to need material wise, and started sort of assigning. I kind of became the networker slash organizer slash procurer of resources, materials, funds, whatever we needed to make this happening, anything to support his work here. What I didn't do is I had nothing to do with the other sites. I did not go down the mountain. I didn't find him lodging or anything down there. He did all of that himself and with his sister Jola LeBeau, who also came down at the same time. And they did all of that. Um, but this is where it kind of got interesting on a personal level for me, was before he came back to California. So he lives in Wyoming. So when he came back to California, flew back, I think October 22nd, we were having our Women of Wisdom conference, which was held at the Presbyterian Conference Center, which is also where we did the medicine wheel, where I could just keep seeing all these synchronicities as I'm talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was given 5 minutes to just get up and tell people about the medicine wheel to see if we could get some participation or some donations, etc. Okay, so I stand up in front of the room and I started to tell that I had met this man who would be coming to, and I said, I was trying to say a very special man. I met a very special man who would be coming to Big Bear. And when I tried to say a very special man, like an energy came into me and filled my heart real big, and I almost fell over. And I
Wow.
couldn't, I was choked up. I was choked up. And then I continued. I said, a very special man. And I mean, everybody could see that something had just happened. You know? And anyway, I just gave my 5 minutes, and, was letting people know about it. We got a bigger list of who was interested in doing it. Okay, then uh, at the last day of the conference, which was October 24th, and I just put this together now, but on October 24th, Bavado was in California, but not at Big Bear yet. And he was doing ceremony either at Mount Baldy or Claremont. I'm not sure. So I don't know if the experience that I had on October 24th that I'm going to tell you about was simultaneous with something that he was doing or not. But what happened was, and this was just really profound for me.
And for non-LA
It
people,
was,
that's about halfway between LA, like main part of LA and Big
yeah,
Bear. Would you say?
yeah. So uh, I was I was listening to the last speaker, and I just wasn't into whatever she was talking about, and I just had this feeling something was going on inside me. I had a feeling that I needed to go outside and just stand on the earth and get grounded. So when I walked outside the building, I ran into Valerie Dobish and Deborah Hagstrom, who are both Native Americans that I had met at the gathering, the Journey to the Heart gathering. And we were talking about Benny coming in the medicine wheel and everything. And then Valerie said we should hold hands. And so we just stood in a small circle, the three of us holding hands. And a white bird flew almost in slow motion, I swear, in my direct field of vision, but behind the other two women. Okay. Just flying very gently. And it lands on a rooftop. And I didn't even know what it was. And I asked them, and that's a dove. Okay. Oh, I lived on the mountain for 30, well, at that point, I moved to the mountain in 1979. This was 2004, figured out. But I had never seen a dove, okay, up there. And shortly thereafter, a gray mourning dove came by and sat next to the white dove on the roof, and they sat there for about a half an hour. And when I saw the white dove, I had a flashback to a meditation that I had had the year before in 2003, where I saw Old Man of the Mountains. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was a natural structure it's like an old Native American man profile in the mountains in New Hampshire. And we used to see it. We'd go up to New Hampshire every year when I was a child. And so for some reason, during this previous year's vision, I was seeing this Old Man of the Mountain. And then at the time I saw it, I remembered reading that it had crumbled that year. It fell apart. It was gone. And then there appeared in the vision a Native American woman in white buckskins with a flute. And I immediately knew her name was White Dove. Okay, so now this is happening. Like I said, this happened really split second.
This
I see the
intense.
dove.
Yeah.
I flash back to yeah. I flash back to this. I tell Deborah and Valerie about it, and my heart blew open. And I've never experienced anything like this. The image that I had was like in a movie when the bank robbers are using explosives to blow the wall out into the vault. You know, boom, the wall explodes and now they're
Yeah.
in the vault. That's the way my heart felt. It was literally like an explosion and an opening. And I couldn't get my breath. I was crying. I mean, I knew it was a great experience, but I also was physiologically really impacted by this.
Yeah.
Um, it was just wild. And I had the thought at the time, I'm home.
That's so
And that's kind
beautiful.
of, yeah. And Robin Bradley, who figures very prominently in this whole story, um, she had interpreted that the old man in the mountain crumbling was kind of the disintegration of the masculine and that the white dove was the feminine principle.
Uh,
Um, yeah.
and
So,
that's where
I
it's
mean, I
going
think,
now too. And that's
yeah.
that's where our paradigm is going, is into more
Hmm.
feminine leadership.
Hmm.
And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean Hillary Clinton, by the way.
No, please. We won't go there. So anyway, I had that experience, and that was before you even got up here. So then on the 26th of October, we did a training. Benny LeBeau performed a training for all the people that were going to be involved in the medicine wheel at that time that knew about it, that even from down the hill. So there were like 25 of us in Big Bear at the Lagunitas Lodge, which is on the lake conference room, and Mary Norris, who is a healer from Texas that he had met at Journey to the Heart, she was there also when providing part of the training, and he was explaining about the heartbeat of Mother Earth and the drumming and dancing and the vibration. And it's all about vibration and intention and love and balance, harmonious sounds as opposed to disharmonious sounds of drilling and all of that.
Yes.
So and vibration. So at the end of that training, we did a little ceremony, and now we're at the lake, so you can look out the window, and people that could see it could see these energetic spirals coming in. And now, what was predicted weather-wise that day? Possibly a little drizzle, maybe. What we had was 2 feet of snow.
It's unbelievable.
2 feet of snow. October 26, 2004. 2 feet of snow. Okay, our ski areas are thrilled to death if they can open on Thanksgiving weekend with man-made snow. They opened in October
That's
after
awesome.
that.
That's what this
It
energy
was awesome.
does. You guys generated so much life force through this
Mhm.
work.
So now we're all just completely jazzed and blown away by it, and we haven't even started. Um, so let's see the training, and then from that point until November 15th, when we did the actual medicine wheel ceremony, Bobido and his sister Jola went all around the Southern California to these other 8 sites that were in a 120-mile radius from Big Bear, and found people to do ceremony, did training there. And I had videotaped the training in Big Bear, and I made copies of it for the ambassadors. He told me who the ambassadors were at all the sites, and then I just became sort of information central via email with these other people. So then on November 15th, we we were at the Presbyterian Conference Center, which is on the lake, beautiful old property on the lake. Um, and we had 65 people throughout the day, but I think most of them were there by 4 o'clock in the morning, which was when he said he wanted us there, which was again amazing, I think. Um, and this is now the November 15th ceremony. And we, oh, I did the whole show just to talk about that one day, that one ceremony. But
I
in
just
any
wanted to
event,
say before you talk about the ceremony that your intentions
uh,
created that snow before it even happened. And that's why in the song Cloud Busting by Kate Bush, which is
mhm.
about Wilhelm Reich and the work he
Oh,
did,
I'll have to look
she
it up.
says
Okay.
just saying it could even make it happen. And that's, and
Oh,
definitely you can watch it on my website. If you click on the Organite
okay.
tab on my website, there's some
Hmm.
videos on there and you'll see Kate Bush cloud busting. It's literally just saying it can make it happen. So you guys already had put forth the intention to heal that land, and it started happening
Hmm.
before you even did the ceremony.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we had that. there was a little ceremony that we did at the end of the training, and that was when we had that 2 feet. And then we didn't really have snow till November 20th. So on the 15th was when we did the big ceremony where on all 9 sites simultaneously, pretty much all day long, from sun up till late afternoon. And then we wanted to have a celebration and bring everybody together so that we could share what the visions and the experiences were of all the people on the other sites. So we booked the conference center for November 20th, and we had the intention that it not snow until we could, get everybody up so we could have this gathering. There was a lot of gifting at that time. It was really beautiful. A local psychiatrist paid for all the food, you know. It was great. So that was where I got to meet the other people from the other sites, and they're from all different cultures. It was just amazing. We had Danza Azteca Xochipilli, uh, that Aztec dancers from Los Angeles, and that was a family at the time of 11 and a half, maybe, because the mother Eva was pregnant, and they have beautiful feathers, um, drumming and this. Uh, I don't know what you call that when the ankle things with the shells
Oh,
on them
yes. I
make
wonder if
noise
those
and
are the
everything.
same Aztec
Anyway,
dancers that dance at the marches against Monsanto in Los Angeles.
It's very possible.
well, they're called Danza Azteca Xochipilli,
I just love the
and it's
dancing. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Eva and Adolfo Ortega, and they're amazing people. They're just wonderful people. So it was a family, and they did a ceremony in the indoors at the lodge there, um, with drumming and everything, with and the kids and this beautiful feathers, regalia. They did a ceremony on the 20th, and then that's over and we're having our gathering and we're talking and everything. And then I hear screaming and squealing outside, and I go outside, and the children are outside because they're done with their ceremony. They're outside and they're screaming because it's snowing, and they've never seen snow. And it snowed. It snowed. It snowed and snowed and snowed and snowed. It snowed 3 feet,
Wow.
and it came down very, very, very fast. And it was amazing because, while we had the intention that it not snow so everybody could get up there, we didn't stop to think, well, wait till they get down. So nobody was leaving. There was no way any of these people who did not have four-wheel drive vehicles or
Yeah.
have experience driving
They
in
weren't
snow were
going
going to be
anywhere.
driving down the mountain. No. So fortunately, again, synchronicity, two of the people that were involved in the medicine wheel ceremony that were at this event owned bed and breakfast. So of course they took some people home. We just started seeing who's got an extra bedroom, and everybody took people home. And then I called Big Bear Vacations. The owner of Big Bear Vacations had been very generous throughout this whole experience, and said, "Can you house a family of 11 for the weekend?" And he did. And then the next day, Robin and I ran around and gathered up children's snow clothes and sleds and whatnot so they could play in the snow. And like a good time was had by all. It was amazing.
That's nice.
And we all met for pizza the next day. And I mean, Big Bear was snowed in. It was huge.
More than usual, I guess, then.
3 feet at
That's,
once.
it's a lot. I
Do
know.
you
I
have any
can't
idea
even
what 3 feet of snow
I'm
looks
trying
like?
to imagine
What do you
that.
get in your car for? Yeah.
Well, I'm from Los
Oh,
Angeles, but I can imagine it.
right.
I'm doing the
Yeah.
math.
Yeah.
We're used to 3 feet of smog.
Yeah. So that was quite amazing, and then so much had happened. Um, there was so much water. First of all, the valley is a bowl. There's mountains all the way around it, and the lake is like the lower part. So everything runs into the lake. So the lake filled up with water very, very quickly, and the boats and the docks were found in various other places than they started out. They were going to cross the lake, and there was some damages too, but we were also happy with the water,
It's
and
amazing.
it was amazing. I don't know what to say. It was just like such magic, and it was so thrilling, and it was so multicultural, and it was so new. Uh, it, it, it was incredible. That's all I can say. It's amazing.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about the medicine wheels that you made and what they were made from and how they worked?
Mm, I'll try. I didn't make them. Bovido made them, and Kirpal and Radha Khalsa helped a lot. Bill and Carol Treadwell helped a lot. Uh, Radha and Kirpal had a business, maybe still do, of gems and stones and jewelry and things like that. So they had um, brought in a lot of crystals, big crystals, and then rocks. We would gather large rocks. So I wasn't so much involved in the physical putting together of these medicine wheels, but there's an entrance point, and then it was just a big circle. I have photographs, and there's probably photographs online. Um, we did other medicine wheel ceremonies up here too, and they all looked a little bit different. Um, but there's an altar in the center. Um, Sometimes there's a fire. I'm trying to remember the first one. Where was the fire? I'm trying to remember. The fire was in. I don't think it was in the center. Anyway, it was set up to where there was an altar in the center, and anybody could put anything in there that they wanted to. So there was fruits and vegetables, all the things of the earth, little figurines of all the different animals, religious figures. There was no, you can't put that in there. Everybody's beliefs were respected. During the ceremony, everybody really got to share whatever was in their heart and in any way they wanted to. There wasn't any protocol, really. I mean, I think there was a little protocol, maybe that you had to wear a skirt if you were a woman, but that was probably about it. Uh, and everybody got saged before you went into that area. Um, it was just about purity and intention and love and reverence for the earth and all life on her. That's what the whole thing was about. And so how it was built, I mean, I went to one um, in Laguna Beach, which was one of the spoke sites later on. And, theirs had a lot of shells and seaweed and whatever it was, whatever was on the beach,
Hmm.
that's what theirs was
Yes.
made of. So it,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter that much. But the thing that struck me is that if you think of a very large circle and you've got eight spokes, on the outside of the circle, and then Big Bear is the hub, and you're vibrating the land in each one of these sites by singing and dancing and intentions and all of that and drumming. You're sending energy into the earth, and it's radiating out, just like if you dropped a pebble in a pond and you see those concentric circles moving outward. So if you see these concentric circles, that are moving outward at each of these 9 sites, there is going to form an interference pattern. You're going to have basically a flower of life design. You're
Hmm.
going to have sacred geometry.
And you guys were
So,
not just doing it in one place. I was aware of Bovido going to many places and making large scale medicine wheels that involved many
right,
sacred sites. So we're talking about it's like Reiki for the earth. That's how I think of it, like
exactly. Yeah,
realigning the chakra points of the earth.
right, right. So when he would do a ceremony, another medicine wheel somewhere else, we would have one here, and kind of connect with it, just spiritually or you know, it, visually in our minds, connecting in our hearts, connecting with the other medicine wheel ceremonies.
It's
So
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
absolutely fascinating stuff, and I'm curious now, 12 years later, if obviously with so much done, so many people into that, and being able to see like real results, like right in their face, the kind that just simply can't be denied. I'm wondering how is people's receptiveness in that area in Big Bear? How has that changed, or even has it changed 12 years later? Do you
Oh,
notice?
I think it's much more. I think it's much more open than it used to be. I know that when
Hmm.
the MWD was considering cloud seeding this year, the article in the newspaper to me was much more tempered and measured. Um, it didn't sound like we're going to do this. This is the solution. It sounded like we were looking into it. And then Joe Bradley, when he found out that they were going to do it, he asked for a meeting with the board of the MWT, and he sat down with them, and he was fairly well received this time, which was not really what happened before. Um,
Oh, that's good.
So you've
he was
noticed.
given a rough time.
I'm not just obviously
I think,
talking
yeah.
just in one specific area, but you're noticing just on a
Well,
wider
the
scale.
community is open. Yeah, but just like any community, we have our extremes. You know,
Right.
there's yeah, a lot of narrow-mindedness and judgment. And I after the medicine wheel was over, part of a lot of the contributions came from realtors, because obviously real estate is one of our big industries.
Right.
So we had nice participation from realtors. And I spoke to the board of realtors when the whole thing was over, just to make sure that everybody kind of knew what happened and fill them in and everything. And at the end, I asked, and everybody looked really interested while I was speaking, but at the end, I asked if there were any questions, and there was only one question. And it was, do you believe in God? And I
Huh.
said, absolutely. And then some people came up to me afterwards and sort of apologized. But I'm just trying to give a little representation of, well, if it has to do with nature, it's not about God. You know, there's some real black and white thinking too.
That's odd.
Yeah, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I
It,
don't
it
understand that
it's
either.
there. It's definitely there. You know, but and along those lines, one of the times when I was going to go meet with Robin, as I was driving to her house, there was a white a hawk. It was mostly light colored white underneath, and a raven flying together. These bird things are amazing. Anyway, they
Yeah.
were kind of following my car on the way to her house, flying together. So when I got there, Robin is an incredibly clear, intuitive person. So when we got together, I was telling her about the birds, and what she got about that was that it was just the sort of the darkness and the light flying together, and that they don't have to interact. It's
Hmm.
okay. It's what is. And getting back to my dove story, after the two doves had landed there, then there was two hawks and two ravens came and flew around.
We get a lot of confirmations through the birds as well with our work. That's a lot of time how we
Yeah.
know it's working.
Hmm.
They tend to circle around when
Mm-hmm.
we're doing
The
well.
vortexes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah.
We were thrilled to
Uh-huh.
see this red hawk yesterday.
A red-tailed hawk.
It was
Oh yeah.
amazing hanging out in our yard.
Mm-hmm.
Clutching the cadaver of a squirrel that was soon to be lunch.
Ew. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
nature. That's how it is up.
I
I mean,
know. I know. I had one that sat in a tree by my house and just grabbed a blue jay and shredded it right
Oh
before my
my.
eyes. And it was like, oh, what a beautiful hawk! Ow!
That's a
what
little
if
sad.
what a beautiful blue jay? Oh, not anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you do get a lot
Yeah.
of confirmations through the
Yeah.
animal activity.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
you know you're
absolutely. Yeah.
generating life energy when you have all this all these animals coming
Yeah, and
around.
the great thing about the animals is they're completely unbiased. Their slate is
Mm-hmm.
clean. They're not going to be holding on to these preconceived notions or any like holding on to any kind of fear that they've had their lives. They're around an energy they like. They show it. There's no like, oh,
Right.
is this real or is this what does Fox News think about this energy?
Oh,
Like
I almost forgot to tell you this. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't forget totally and remember it later. So this morning, when I'm driving into the office to see my clients, by the way, I was very nervous about this show because I haven't really done this before. So I was driving into the office, and a white dove, this is only the second time in my
again.
37 years here I've seen a white dove here, flew in front of my car, and the road ahead of me just flew from one side of the road to the other, left to right. And I went, is that a white dove? And then it flew back from right to left, and then it circled over my car.
Wow. So your spirit
And I
guide
just said,
was telling
thank
you
you.
it's okay to
Oh
be
my,
on the human frequency.
yeah, or Bavado. I'm not sure,
Ah.
but it was one of those like, oh, phew, it's okay. And it took away all my anxiety.
You know, we had a very coincidental thing happen. I don't think it was a coincidence, which was on June 12th. Gabe and I rebuilt the quartz medicine wheels that we had made around here where we live. not knowing that that was the day that Bovado was passing. And we went out that day and rebuilt all the wheels and made sure they were maintained. 1 week later, I got your email and I was astounded because we were doing it on the at the time he was passing.
And didn't even know it.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Don't you sometimes feel like you're just a puppet?
I do.
Like how could I be doing all of these things and not consciously know what I'm doing?
Well, I feel like more of a muppet than a puppet, but that's just me.
Yeah, it may not be the right word, but it makes me laugh.
It's
You know,
amazing these connections we have, and I feel like we are guided in a lot of ways to do the work we do, and it's not necessarily like we chose to do it. I mean, I certainly didn't choose to become an Organite gifter. I didn't even know what Organite gifting was 4 years ago.
hmm
So it's just something that happened, and I think this happened for you as well. And I
Right,
think that
right.
Big Bear was like ground zero for a lot of this amazing work going on in Southern
hmm
California.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask
hmm
you, what has the Big Bear community been doing to continue the work of Bovado since all those years ago?
Okay, well, the following year, I had him back out here and basically just handed him money. I said, you have your relationships here now. There was a particular thing that we needed to do. We basically needed to pressurize the wells because Lake Williams area well was dry, and they wanted to build a pipeline from Irwin Lake, and it was another drilling through a mountain and la da da da. So I called him up and said, yeah, he was in California, and I said, come on up. I want to show you something. And I said, can you do anything about this situation? And he said, yep, of course. And uh, I said, just do not come back up without a cameraman. And I said, I was not in organizing it at that point. I said, tell me what you need. I'll hook you up with the right people or whatever. And then how much money do you need? I gave him almost 3 times what he asked for because he's not good about money, doesn't he didn't figure out what things would actually cost. But and what he did at that point was we hooked him up with the search and rescue people, and you'll see two of them in the documentary, Fred and Rudy, and they went up to 10 peaks around Big Bear and did ceremony with these beautiful crystals and everything, and to really work this energy grid across the valley. And then at the end of that, we had a ceremony in the Danza Azteca. Xochipilli came again, and we did a beautiful ceremony at Pan Hot Springs, which is a Native American sacred site and was owned by Ray Bowling at the time. It's now owned by um, one of the Native American elders, or I'm not sure if he's considered an elder, but anyway, uh, it's owned by the local tribe or individually by a person. I'm not quite sure, but it's kind of back where it belongs. But we used it, we had it for the time that we needed it. It was just great. We did a lot of ceremony at Pan Hot Springs. It's a natural hot springs. And oh, I here's another magic Bobito moment. Okay, so December 21st, 2005 was when it was called the reharmonization ceremony. We did the medicine wheel at Pan Hot Springs after Bobido and the other people had done the 10 peaks around the valley. And I'm worried about the Danza Azteca Xochipilli because there's children and now there's a baby, he's born now. And they don't wear a lot of clothing, they wear a lot of feathers. And it's December 21st, it's winter solstice. It's going to be cold. It could snow. I'm worried about these people being out there. And he said, don't worry about the weather, Gina. It'll be fine. Well, it was 60 some degrees by the afternoon, and Ray had filled the pools, and the kids were swimming
There you go.
in December.
He
At
just
70.
knows. He just
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
Sometimes he strikes me as the
Yeah.
kind of person who just knows. And he would also strikes me as the kind of person that if you asked, "Can you do something about this?" he
He's
wouldn't
like,
just
no
throw
problem.
his hands up and say,
Yeah.
"Nope, can't do anything."
Well,
Yeah. Right. Right.
the documentary again is called Healing the Earth's Sacred Sites. You could see this on YouTube. Just look up Healing the Earth's Sacred Sites, and it's an
It's
amazing
actually,
story. And that's where I
yeah,
first,
it's healing. I think it's healing Mother Earth sacred
that's
sites.
correct, right? Healing Mother Earth's
Yeah,
Sacred
and then it's
Sites.
like the Grand Teton and Big Bear Medicine Wheel. The whole thing is on YouTube, as you said. And yeah, that was all done. There was no funding for anything. I mean, the cameraman was volunteer. The Debbie Nagata that edited it and put it together was volunteered, and she had participated in the Grand Teton Medicine Wheel. But anyway, getting back to you asked about other work since then. We also had Bobido came back several times actually, kind of on his own. He really had a place in his heart for Big Bear, and we would just have gatherings and meditations and go out in various places. And we didn't do the whole big rock uh, necessarily, but we'd stand in a circle and have drumming and talking and sharing, and he'd explain things. So we did quite a bit of that. And also on August 8th, 2008, we did a very big one at Pan Hot Springs, and we had bear dancers up also. Then Robin Bradley had started an organization called Earth Heal, and the HEAL part stands for, oh boy, Humanity and Earth Alliance for Life.
Well, that's
And
nice.
yeah, so we were doing, I think, full moon or new moon meditations. And we were doing it even in one location or at her home. She has a gigantic teepee. Um, we also did some things where we went around the lake, where we all had a crystal and a rose, I think, and we situated ourselves all the way around the lake at various points, and everybody kind of blew their intentions for the valley into the crystal, and then we all threw them into the water, and it was really beautiful. I think that was one of the winter solstice ceremonies.
Well, I'm
So
That
we've done
is.
a
excited.
lot of
I'm excited about continuing this tradition and coming up, and we're going to be doing a gifting of the lake with you guys as well as doing the talk. And since we only have about a minute left, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that you can come visit with us up in Big Bear this Saturday, the 29th, and Gina Weiss. Gina's hosting the event. It's at the Loving Life Center. And all the information is at thekembo.com. That's our website. And we are very, very excited to come up and do a continuation of this work and provide new tools that are similar to keeping the rain and snow coming, keeping the air clean, and keeping the life energy strong in Big Bear.
Thank
Gina,
you. And I just want to say that
yes.
the whole guidance thing was the same thing about contacting you. As I'd had chemtrails on my mind for so long, and then I saw you on George Norrie's show, and that's when I contacted you. And again, it's one of those things where it just, synchronicity.
Yeah, the harmonic convergence. That's what it's all about. And
Mhm.
we thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about this. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. You've been listening to The Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio. Our event is coming up October 29th. Please come to our website, thekembo.com, and check it out. Thank you, and have a good evening.